Hi there, I'm Dark Shades, and I just want to talk about savings today because it's such a serious topic and it's a useful one. And everyone needs to save, but not everyone can save. Can't save because every time you try to save, something crops up, whether it's something with a car, whether it's you lose your money, or you lose your salary, or you lose a job, or whatever it is. It's really difficult to save. And so what I'm going to do in this video is to give you some advice on what to do so that even when there's an emergency, you don't dip into your savings, because that is so demotivating. And so many people, they start saving and they have all the best of intentions, and then within a few months they have this emergency and they have to dip into it and they can't see a way out of that, and then they have to start again, and when they're starting again they just think, what's the point? I'm going to tell you what the point is. The point is you need money for an emergency or for the future or for whatever. It doesn't matter. You need to know that there's money put aside for a rainy day, as they call it in the olden days. Now, what the best way forward in this situation, well, it is the only way forward, is to create a budget. With a budget, a lot of people don't do that. They don't write down how much they spend, what they spend it on, and they just get by, and they know they've got this bill to pay, and whether they set up direct debits, whatever they do, they just pay things as they go along. As the demand comes in, they pay it. They haven't really got any kind of structure. So the bills get paid, but every month they're broke, and every month, end of the month, they don't have any money to put aside or for a rainy day. So what I'm suggesting to you is that you create a budget, and a budget of essentials and non-essentials. The essentials are the things like the mortgage or the rent, council tax, utility bills, TV license, travel. If you have a car, petrol, you're going to have to put some money aside for MOT, car tax, things like that. Of course, you've got your broadband, you have your TV, you have your mobile, and you have your landline, because without a landline, you can't get broadband. And that's how they rope you in, these people, these monopolies. So you don't really have a choice with any of those things that I've mentioned. And of course, you need insurance. Whether it's mortgage insurance, whether it's life insurance, whether it's health insurance, whether it's contents insurance, you need insurance for a rainy day, so that if anything goes wrong, you don't have to worry about paying for it. And to be honest, if you had insurance, you wouldn't need to fork out money for an emergency, because the insurance should cover it. So first of all, I know a lot of people can't be bothered with insurance. They think it's a waste of money because nothing's going to happen. But invariably it does. And you need that protection. You need that safety net. And you can't be worrying, what if? So you take out an insurance. It doesn't have to be a lot. But if you're in rental accommodation, but at least do your contents insurance, cover your laptops, cover your TVs or whatever, the things that are important to you, and your phone. So you don't, if you lost it, that's not going to be a big expense. So those are as far as I'm concerned, those are your essentials. Your non-essentials are things like clothes, they're like holidays, and they're like social activities. They are not a must. They're nice to do, but they're not essential. And when you're trying to save, those are the things you're going to have to cut down on, I'm afraid. You're going to have to make sacrifices for long-term strategic goals. So once you've done all of that, you factor into your budget, your essential budget, £25 for a credit card. Now, this is a credit card you may have or you may not have. Even if you have a nil balance, you still factor in that £25. And I'm going to tell you why. You're not supposed to use the credit card. Hopefully your credit card has got a nil balance. If you've got this, credit cards upon credit cards. This is not going to work. Well, it is going to work if you factored your payments into the budget, but we have to talk about a separate credit card for the purposes I'm talking about, and we'll call that the emergency fund credit card. So hopefully you've got your payments in order, some kind of semblance of order, so that they are factored in your budget and you don't have to worry about that. So now, the reason why you're putting £25 onto an emergency fund credit card is because you're saving the amount that you have decided to save, whether it's £25 a month, £50 a month, £100 a month, whatever it is. That is what you're committed to save every single month. And once you've put it into this account, make sure it's got a penalty if you take it out earlier than a year. You forget about it. It doesn't exist. Now, you'll say, but suppose I have an emergency. That is what that credit card is for. So it doesn't impact you. You don't have to touch the savings. So you don't get demotivated after saving month after month, only to see it dwindle. You use your emergency credit card. And whatever you pay, the minimum or whatever you can pay, you make sure that £25 you factored in is what you pay. Now, supposing it's a larger thing that's happened, your car's crashed, or, well, technically you should have insurance to cover that. So that's not a good example. But I can't think of a good example which insurance doesn't cover, to be honest. But just supposing there is an emergency, like, okay, I'll give you a good example. Supposing you've got a house, and with houses, the building's insurance doesn't cover fences, believe it or not. So, okay, pretend that you're in your own place, you've got a mortgage, and your fence is blown down by a freak accident, the wind or whatever, and you're going to need to fix that fence, and it's going to cost you like between £750 and £2,000. You could take that on a credit card, but that credit card is not going to be £25 a month. It's going to be more than that. I think for 2,000, I think it's going to cost you more than that. If it doesn't, that's fine. You can do it on a credit card, or you can take a long-term loan. And you may say, but what about the interest? What we're doing here is developing discipline for saving. So this is to get you into the habit. You make sure that if you do take out a loan to pay off that large commitment, make sure it hasn't got a penalty if you pay off it early. Because what we're looking for is a discipline. And normally, if you practice between 3 to 6 months doing it regularly, technically you're supposed to do it daily, 3 to 6 months. So it might be longer if you do it monthly, but it develops into a new habit. And once you've developed into that habit of savings, you won't need these other forms, or you might be able to adjust those other forms and be creative with those other forms of managing emergencies. But what I'm saying is that whatever you do, that money that you've saved doesn't exist. If a friend comes up and says, oh, I'm really in dire straits, this happened, that happened, regardless of what happened, you haven't got it. That money doesn't exist. Your son comes up and says, look, it's my birthday, uses that emotional guilt on you and says, it's my birthday, daddy, or it's my birthday, mummy, I would really like a PlayStation. You got the money in your savings. You don't touch it. Sorry, son, I ain't got it. If I get some money, if I get extra money, if I do some overtime, I'll get it for you. But right now, I don't have it. And you don't have it, you're not lying, because it doesn't exist. So try to get into the habit of believing whatever you're saving doesn't exist, and you'll be okay. So I hope I've covered everything. I think I have. So I'm going to stop it there. Okay? I hope you found it useful.